I have a Mayuri theory that actually is very sound. I believe that Mayuri's Bankai represents the beginning of all life. Not only is it a baby, it is also a caterpillar. Not only is it a caterpillar and a baby in conjunction, it is as well uh, named Jiz Out. Now, Giselle is the pronunciation of it, but to me, it sounds so similar to Jizz. You know what Jizz is, and out that could also be referential to beginning of life. I think his maximum Bankai should be representative of an embryo, even considering uh, his Bankai. Now, Mayuri is arguably my favorite character because he's a scientist, and I'm a scientific-minded artist. Therefore, I appreciate scientists in anime. Also, I think Mayuri, this is my Mayuri review, is the most powerful character in Bleach. Here's why. If you can be a scientist within a supernatural realm and survive it, you must be the most powerful person in the anime. It's like Aizen. If Aizen was a human, and if Aizen was theoretically a human inside of a supernatural realm, and he survived it, and he survived within it, then he must be the most powerful being within that realm. Reality. I have 3 or 4 characters that I think that if they're human at all, and in the Bleach reality, they'd be the most powerful characters in like Bleach. Aizen, Mayuri, Grimjow. But the reason why I say Mayuri is because if he's a scientist, then he must be uber Alice. Because if you're a scientist inside a supernatural realm and you're surviving it, I mean, because think about this, is that even in this supernatural realm, that's still cloth, on Giselle, but that cloth, considering maybe another character's hands, maybe I didn't do a theory on another video on why being a science-based character in a supernatural realm would make you the most powerful character in the reality. You know. I think I'm gonna do that now, actually. I'm gonna leave this for another day. Basically, in summarization, Giselle is representative of a baby, a caterpillar, which is the larvae state of a butterfly, and his name is Giselle, or sounds close enough to Giselle. I don't know if Taikuba had in mind that he wanted Mayuri's Bankai to represent the beginning of life. And notoriously, scientists are notorious for trying to play God, and the greatest way to play God is to try to reformate the beginning of life. That's just is what it is, and it actually would correlate with him being a scientist, which Mayuri is a scientist. Now, what's more interesting though, than on this topic, is who I will title the video this too. Who would be the most powerful person in a supernatural reality? This is gonna be a couple videos deep because I do believe a scientist would be the most popular. Not popular opinion, actually, unpopular opinion would be the most relative choice. That's a great way to say that. Well, let's look it up. While I look this up, I'll play this for you.
Did you know that Mayuri Kurotsuchi's Bankai isn't actually the giant yellow baby caterpillar? We were all misdirected by the way it is presented. It's so weird looking and massive, so we forgot to pay attention to his hand. Mayuri once stated that Bankai cannot be repaired after being destroyed, yet his Bankai has been destroyed multiple times and always comes back. But how? The yellow baby is not his true Bankai. It's a product created by his Zanpakuto. Similar to how Toshiro creates ice that can break without harming his Bankai, Mayuri's caterpillar can be destroyed as many times as Mayuri wants. Unlike Byakuya or Renji, who fully transform their Zanpakuto, Mayuri's sword stays in its original form. The yellow baby rampaging is just something his sword produces. This is proven when he defeats Sayalaporo. He intentionally breaks his sword, but explains that as long as the hilt remains, he can rebuild it. So the true form of Mayuri's Bankai is likely the hilt, capable of...
Now I disagree. Now with that theoretical, I disagree with what I found. Okay, so the notion is that in supernatural anime, while scientists can be powerful and resourceful, they are generally not the most powerful individuals. Supernatural powers, magic, or divine abilities often hold greater sway than even the most brilliant scientific minds. Now, that is actually a disagreeable point because if you actually can survive, picture this: if you can survive in a reality where people have supernatural powers and you're simply a scientist and you're surviving in that long enough, you must be the most powerful person in that reality. Yeah, I think supernaturality is still bound to some kind of physical law. If you produce, say, you produce something out of thin air, air molecules they come together and they combine to produce, say, what's H2O, hydrogen and oxygen to the second power. What is carbon monoxide? Fire. So if air can create, it's water is in air molecules. So if they can create water out of air molecules, it's to be balanced with kind of physics. If it does come out of literal thin air as a point, it will be bound to some kind of physics. Now, if you're a scientist, you can reverse that. You are the most powerful person within that reality because you have a near inexhaustible way of doing something. If something is supernatural, then it has an exhaustible method. You never know if it's gonna work or not. Like, imagine having a brain jutsu, which is a technique, and you just like doing this all day long, and nothing happens. You lost your power. Even if something happened before you lost your power, then you asked out. Like you asking for the power to work. I used to say asked out. Um, but let's say you're a scientist, you can reproduce what you've done countless times because you have a method of doing it, and it's not based off of something that cannot be explained. It's based off of something that's very explainable. Let's see what they say about Dr. Stone versus some supernaturality. Dr. Stone versus you gotta think even with Gara. Let's just use Gara for an example. Let's use Gara for an example. Gara, Tower. I think I'm gonna have a great time is bringing science in the super in the anime. Cause look, okay, they say it's the power of God. Okay, I guess having sand power makes you some kind of power of God or some kind of something like that. But look, damn, my bad. I'm gonna get copyrighted on this. I'm not. Gara. Okay, this is Gara's sand power, sand jutsu. Okay, even as supernatural as that is, it has to be explained in some kind of scientific way. So even karate is explainable. You know, so Rock Lee has no hope in this section. Rock Lee is very explainable. He pretty much copies animals. Karate closely copies animals, like doing the crane or doing the tiger, the moves closely, karate, doing the tiger, karate, tiger, karate.
With Geico, we can easily bundle home and car insurance.
So he's very explainable.
That breakfast burrito. There isn't too much hot.
But you may ask, how do we explain Gara? Now, how would that be possible at all in any reality? How is that possible? I'll tell you how it's possible. It's very explainable. It's iron and sand, right? And this further proves the point of why, if a scientist exists in a realm like anime, why a scientist that survives within that realm achieves such power, they're the most powerful person in that anime. They can continuously reproduce what they do. Rock Lee's taijutsu is continuous as well because he's physical. It's bound to his stamina alone. All is bound to his stamina. Now, that being said, this is how sand works in iron. Iron and sand. That's better worded. Extracting magnetic iron from sand. Let's view this.
Now place your magnets in a bag. You'll need sand. Okay, cool.
Now,
Now
watch
use
this.
your magnets to gather the iron. You'll need some glue. Add your iron. Mix. Add some borax. Mix.
The point of the matter is, you can literally formulate. That's a little sloppy, but you can literally formulate iron from sand. There's iron and sand. That's a better video of that demonstration of iron being in sand. They even made iron from Greek sand. So therefore, that means there's even more proof that there's iron in sand. Now, this all makes sense because how would you get to a point where you can literally have sand applied to your face, and the explanation, and if I was a scientist, this is what I'm going to do as a whole series. If I'm a scientist within Naruto, Ruta, you're going to be like that about it, is I'm going to put magnetism in my face, and the sand's going to collect on my face, and then it's going to have the desired result of iron applied to sand, which Paul's also sounds very relevant to his signature golden sand because it is metallic. And now I have what Gara has. If I really want to go want to go crazy about it, I'm gonna get a grill, a metallic grill for your teeth, like this right here. A metallic grill, like you see on the screen right there. And then what I'm gonna do with that grill, I'm gonna use that grill to put iron in the sand. It makes total sense. I have a magnet in my mouth. I have a gourd on my back that's a sand gourd. It that, and it moves the sand in that direction. Now, as a scientist within Naruto, I could do that. I could literally see Gaara use his power, know that there's iron in sand, and know how to replicate his power based off of what I saw in the science that I have within my disposal as well. Now, there's more to it. The most powerful characters in anime are also copycats. And that's another my topic of why the most powerful character in Hitman Reborn, the most powerful character in every series is a person with no power that survives in it. However, the most powerful person in My Hero Academia is Minoma. He can copy everybody. You know, there's many variants you can use when you copy everyone. Hands down was popular. I say popular in my mind. I say popular, I mean in my own life. Because I'm pretty sure Minamo was the most popular character in that anime or manga. Nobody cares about Minamo. I can relate. The powerful character one cares about. I don't know really about. I don't know about that one, but I can relate with no care on it. Yeah, but anyways, it's iron and sand. It's clear as day. I'm gonna just do. Is there iron and sand? Is there iron and sand? And you play some black sand too, black sand or something like that. You play some black sand and like have a thematic black sand. It's the densest sand you can get. Make sure this sand is black sand. Make sure this sand you get. Yes, many types of sand contain iron. Um, so basically, the point of the matter is how do you replicate Gaara's power? Iron, magnetism, and basically you can literally become Gaara in real life. The thing that is so polarizing and so powerful about a scientist within an anime realm that's fully explainable by physics is that it can be replicated in this reality. I would do a full demonstration if I had the ability at this moment, but some I do not. But once I do, I may do it short. Anyways. Yes. The answer is yes. Clear as the answer is yes. The answer is yes. So, now, you're gonna have people ask, or people say, how can that become, how's that real? I explained it. How is it real? It's very explainable. I understand. Physics. So the point of the matter is everything is bound to physics. Now YouTube's becoming very toxic to the environment of me being able to do videos because they have a lot of that's copyrighted music. So this might be copyrighted. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to monetize this one. But regardless, so an anime like Akashi, okay, you asked the question of how could that be rationalized? How could Kakashi be rationalized? Okay, think about this though. How can it not be rationalized? Because basically, what's going on in Kakashi is that he is able to make a box out of seemingly thin air. As a scientist, I'm gonna show you. Well, I'm scientific minded artist, put it that way. I'm gonna actually showcase how in Kakashi that could actually become a magnetic box as well. Majority of the supernatural powers can be explained, and I'm not going to lie, a lot of them can be explained with magnetism. Okay. Now, Kakashi, obviously, you see boxes. Now, how can that actually be? How can that actually come to fruition? Question is, could you make a box? Could you make a box that actually implodes and explodes with polarity and magnetism alone? The answer is yes. Yes, yes. Box made out of magnetism. Box made box made out of polarity.
Hey, have you ever had a speaker and you didn't know which wire was positive and which one was negative? Just
Okay, so basically, Kakashi has a box. It's a box that seemingly implodes. Can a magnet implode? No. Can positive and negative implode? Electrical current put together? Yes. It will explode. Now, the thing about it is, can you make a sustainable box that's suspended in air via magnetism that has polarity? This is where it's gonna get interesting because there's no direct answer. I'm the first one doing it, so there's no direct answer to this right now. But there are examples. Now, the hoverboard. Now, this is a hoverboard. I'm not talking about those hoverboards, but the actual hoverboards that actually polarity. I'm not talking about the Chief Keef. I call them the Chief Keef ones. There was a time where everybody in the trap had a hoverboard. Anyway, I'm talking about the Marty McFly joints. That right there. Is that real? I have no idea. It looks like CGI. I'm not sure if it's real or not, but that's suspended in air. Now we'll see on Kakashi. Is that real? Is that real? I don't think it's real. I think that's a parody or something. I don't think it's real.
This hoverboard costs over $7,000, which can take you anywhere, even across water.
That's an air-based hoverboard. That doesn't count.
Would you buy one?
No, it doesn't count. It's
This
air-based. I want what I saw. I want what I saw already. The Lexus hoverboard.
Okay. Stop forcing it. So this is a Lexus commercial. You might wonder why a car company is using a hoverboard in one of its ads. Is Lexus planning to make hoverboards now? No shot. It's pinning. And we've seen people what you think. It hovers off the ground like a proper hoverboard. But as I'm sure you've guessed, there are some big caveats. Like the track it needs to run on, which is crucial to how the thing works at all. Inside the board are rows of superconductors. A special property of these Type 2 superconductors is that when they're cooled down to a critical temperature, they exhibit properties that alter and manipulate any magnetic field around them. Therefore, the board must be ridden above a highly engineered track that's carefully embedded with magnets, strong enough to hold the board and a rider. Normally, the track is hidden under the hover bar. The board must be resting upon a portion of that same track when being
let's look at Kakashi's box.
nitrogen, which essentially programs it to levitate at a certain height. After this process is complete,
One has to also understand this as well. As a principle, if you enter this reality in any way, shape, or form, if you enter any reality that is a physics-based reality where you can drown, you have to breathe, and you have to breathe in order to drown, then it already is at a similar. Anything can be scientified that's supernatural. Anything can be scientified. In fact, as said before, it's actually best because then when it's supernatural, it's conditional does it work or not, and there's no explanation of does how it works at all. But it does work. That's it. Now, anime usually is like a stamina bar or like a certain condition. Most supernatural powers are based off conditions more than a method or a formula. But science is based on a formula. However, if that blade can cut and you can see whatever is in any anime, supernatural blood, whatever it is, some kind of blood, is oxygen somewhere. Therefore, science is OP. And that's the anyways, Kakashi's box. Power. I want to go to Wiki and see how it works in the anime. Wikia. I kind of want to see how the power works in that as a full write up. Now, I as a scientist, I love supernatural things because they're unexplainable, and it's like as a scientist, you always want to have something to explain. But also, as a scientist or a scientific minded artist, I look at things like Kakashi. I wonder, how can that be real? How can you bring this into reality? And as I said before, if everything's down to physics, then there's a way to do it. Okay. Now, the dimension manipulation, dimension manipulation is a big fancy word for saying ability to go from place to place. Spirit reservoir owners, wind manipulators. This is one of my favorite anime, one of my favorite favorite mangas of all time. I didn't even review on these manga. I love this manga so much, but okay, let's see. Only some random wind manipulation. That's really easy to replicate in science, but let's go to that. I've set up shop. I'm a trapaholic. By the way, with the decor not being traditional YouTube. I'm a trapaholic. I set up shop everywhere. So yeah, it's the decor I got. It's not my decor. It's just what I have right now. I'm not gonna touch it. This is my setup. Anyway. A wind scythe. Now, how would you make a wind scythe? Let me see a Kakashi wind scythe. Kakashi, that's only in the manga.
Bro, you know how long it's been since I even heard the name Kakaishi, bro? I used to love this show, but I straight dropped it. So if you've never seen this show, this is about a couple of teens who protect their school against evil monsters called Ayakashi. And how do they defeat these powerful creatures, you might ask? By trapping them or destroying them in boxes. Yes, magical boxes. I mean, hell, the concept may sound goofy, but hell, this show is really entertaining. Hell, this show introduced me to two of my favorite characters, which was Madara, a giant wolf. I mean, he usually looks like this, but I digress. I like that for him. And then, of course, there...
Yeah. The box. After the wind scythe. Also, Crunchyroll has released a lot of anime on YouTube. I've noticed. I believe it's to combat it already being on YouTube and on websites that you have to be a pirate to know about, which I am. I have my days in being a pirate. Anyways. I want to see how the power works in the anime. I think it's manga only.
Alright, fine, I'll just create even more Kekai.
This is actually the box, though. How is that possible? It is possible through magnetism.
By fighting like this.
Tokene.
Fighting back with raw power isn't the answer. Listen, Yoshimori.
Now you would ask how. Let's go back to Bleach. You would ask how.
Just focus on breathing with me, okay?
How is Mayuri Jizout be able to be made? You can do this. So imagine you have magnetism on your hand, and you did this right here. The magnetism will rise. So you can have a magnetic box that have two things in your hand that control magnetism. You just off the hoverboard, magnetism to that degree exists. You can use polaric magnetism, that's a new word, polaric magnetism, to encapsulate someone in every direction. Eventually use all four of your hands and then close it like a box in order to do magnetism around someone. All four of your hands, close a box, and the magnets will surround them, making a box, and then you can implode it or explode it. Now, that's how Kakashi's power works. I explained Gaara using iron and sand. I'm at the 34-minute mark, so I'm gonna wrap this up at episode 1. A little sloppy, episode 1 a little sloppy, but I'm building a format of science within anime, or why, how, and where science could be a part of anime and make the most powerful character in anime history. Being a scientist. Now, how would you do Jizout? I'll tell you how you do Jizout. A robot. A robot. I'm more of like supernaturality as a representation of something I can never understand, and that is a fascinating thing to me. Otherwise, I'm a scientist, hardcore. I don't really adhere to supernaturality. Uh, but if you could pick a doll, I've always been fascinated bringing things into reality as close as possible instead of those things being fictional. I've always been actually possessed on how can that be real. And I found a lot of answers in my life. But if that can literally become a doll, if that can literally become a doll, any caliber of doll, that sword can literally become a sword, any caliber of becoming a real life item, then you can make a robot out of Giselle. They have a robot, Yokohama right now that proves you can make a robot that size as well. Now, as a scientist, he should have all the means to make a robot. This is a Gundam in Yokohama. Now, if you can make a Gundam of that caliber, this size, then surely you can make a Giselle function as a robot. Again, I have an episodic theoretical that I'll continue to divulge on 40 minutes at a time on why the most powerful person in any anime is a scientist. Period. You can. It's like Batman. If Batman can survive amongst Superman, amongst Matt the Martian, amongst Green Lantern, people doing things without a thought, literally, because they have powers that are without explanation. That can be scientific. Well, it can be scientified actually in reverse. You can reverse. I might call this reverse engineering supernatural. I might make a series. I'm making a series now. Reverse engineering supernatural powers or reverse engineering powers in every anime and every manga. And a lot of this will be magnetism, but I guarantee you, even though it's magnetism, a lot of it's gonna make a whole lot of sense. I think I'm gonna reroute this and do the first one, Gara, in order. Reverse engineering, supernatural powers, and manga, or reverse engineering, scientifically reverse engineering supernatural powers in anime. It's gonna be very interesting, and it's just still, it's gonna be a lot of it's gonna be just straight magnetism, or the basis of hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon monoxide. But yeah, it's still gonna be very interesting. I'm gonna enjoy this because I like to bring fiction into reality because it's somehow possible. If you can make, it's like the artists who make manga and anime. And if you can make that idea, you had to get it from somewhere. You know what? Also, this is why I got fascinated with doing stuff like this because Gundams exist now. But also, look at this. Every anime is based, even the Hell's Paradise. My favorite anime manga, Hell's Paradise. It's based off of real life principalities of Taoism. Taoism. Now it's based off of Taoism, but that's a real life thing. Like that's a real life thing that we've known about since ancient China. So therefore, that being said, every anime has a real life basis of some sort already within the confines of it existing. You know, I think it came somewhere. It's a hodgepodge. Looking at the website, it's a hodgepodge of a real life religion and principality. For example, Taoism. In Hell's Paradise, they've mastered yin and yang unison. That's actually a principality of Taoism. Now, you can get into Taoism and Hermit and all that, but basically, I think it's like the artist or the mangaka's interpretation of a real life principality they use as a story mechanic or as a mechanic within their manga. I mean, really, manga is very versatile and expandable because you can use anything as a basis. You could actually use electricity as a basis for powers, or Newton's law of gravity as a basis of a power scale in a manga, where what goes up must come down. You know, different power scales of gravity, but it's still based off something that's real life. That's why I love manga actually, because there's some kind of realism to it. Even if it's just realistic, interpersonal, uh, like interpersonal, like not dramas, but like how people interact with each other. It's more realistic in manga and anime. But as far as mechanics go, story mechanics go, uh, a lot of it is based off of real life principalities. Now, how does this correlate with being a scientist in the anime and a manga? Theology. Theology is also a science. As a theologist myself, I know a vast amount about Taoism, Buddhism, Christianity, Muslim, or Islamic uh, scribes. Um, I know quite a bit about various topics, and theology is also a part of science in general. The study of the unknown is what basically theology is. Also, theology is a study of a lot of religions, or religion means study in itself, that guide you in life, but or guide people in life in general, and they'll guide you yourself. But also, theology is a study where it's of the unknown. A lot of things you do not know until you die, and you never find out until you die. But that's what fascinates me about supernaturality. Even though I never wanted to really experience it myself like that, or I do experience it, I would want a way to reproduce it. It's why I'm more leaning towards science. It's always a charming thing to me because it's the unknown and it cannot be explained. It's more of a charm thing. Anyways, pun intended, because Charm is also a TV show. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. I'm kind of a mad scientist anyway. No, this is chaotic because I am kind of a mad scientist myself. But yeah, I think I'm gonna further go into more detail about how uh, science could, can, or trumps in a role within a lot of fiction or anime specifically. I'm an anime goon. I love me some anime. It is what it is. Anyways, so basically, I started with Mayuri Bankai and ended up making out another series. A new series coming out for me is How Can That Be Real? I'm making science and anime. I think after this, I'm gonna do a review on Kakashi. I'm not sure just yet. But yeah, that's it for now. Science can replicate every supernatural power you see in any anime, and I've proven Gaara can be reproduced with iron and sand. Kakashi's box can be reproduced with magnetism. And also, Mayuri's Bankai can be a robot. If Mayuri can do all that, then Mayuri is the most powerful person in Bleach as well. I'm gonna get more outlined in my work, but it's a recurrent series, so